Coaches from the Couch podcast, where we like to play games, talk sports, and do our best to have a good time. Be a friend, tell a friend, and stick around if you'd like. We're down one member today. Jacob could not be with us, but the show must go on. And what are we talking about today, Carson?
I want to start it off with the Nuggets and Lakers game four. Our last podcast, that's the day of the game four game, so we didn't get to talk about it. Um, so on Monday, May 22nd, the Denver Nuggets completed the sweep on the Los Angeles Lakers, 113 to 111. And so, what's your input on that?
Yeah, man. What more can you say? The Nuggets went in. They took care of business. It's not really what everybody expected. Maybe not what everybody wanted, but they got it done.
Yeah, everybody, like in the NBA, like everybody wanted to see that Celtics Lakers matchup, and so what do you think if all goes to like how it's supposed to go right now, the Heat versus the Nuggets? What do you think the NBA is thinking of that? Like, what did you think they won?
I think it's definitely not what the NBA wanted for ratings purposes. It kind of reminds me of like when the Spurs were really dominant.
Mhm.
Really good team, and the Nuggets just not that marketable. Denver's not a huge city like LA or Boston, and Jokic is as good of a player as he is. He's not jumping like Giannis or John Morant, dunking everywhere. He's not shooting logo three pointers like Steph Curry. Um, and that just doesn't wow anybody. Nobody's super excited to watch the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat play. And that's kind of unfortunate, I think, because you got a real opportunity for Jokic to win his first ring. You got an opportunity for Jimmy Butler to get his first ring. And I think that's something that NBA fans should be a little bit more excited about.
I was about to say, speaking from my point as an NBA fan, I'm excited for that. Like, I'm excited for a new NBA Finals. Like, I mean, we're gonna have obviously the Heat were there a couple of years ago, um, and the Denver Nuggets. They've never been there. I don't think they've ever been there in team history. I mean, I'm as an NBA fan, I'm excited. Something different. I know the ratings might be down for the NBA, but that's their problem, not mine. I'm excited for it. What about you? Are you pretty excited for it?
Yeah, I am. I think it's an interesting moment for NBA history. I think back just a couple of years ago, I was getting sick and tired of seeing the Cavs and the Warriors every year. It just seemed like it was coming down to LeBron and Steph Curry every year, Kevin Durant. And this is totally different, which I'm a fan of. I'm excited to watch the series.
For sure. Just to touch on that game a little bit, the Lakers had that game. Just that game four, they had that game to win. That was theirs to win. LeBron. So on the May 22nd, our last show, our last episode, we talked about how we were talking. You and Jacob were talking about how does LeBron still have it? And I said, and I was the one that defended LeBron. That LeBron hasn't showed up in this series yet, and he showed up in that game. Had 29 points in the first half, I believe, 28, and finished with like 38, 40. AD didn't have a bad game, 21 points, double double, but still not enough. I just thought that was shocking for LeBron to have a good game and then AD to have a good game, but still the Nuggets able to pull that off over two dominant superstars.
But yeah, I think LeBron said it himself too. I mean, the Nuggets are just a good team. He said that that was the best team that him and AD have played in their tenure together. And let's not forget the Nuggets in the past, the teams that they've been losing to in the playoffs, like the Phoenix Suns that went to the finals, the Warriors that won the championship. They've been losing to these championship caliber teams, and I think they've just kind of been that sleeping giant that's finally woke up. And you just got to give them the credit. They're a great team.
For sure. One thing I want to touch on last in this game is did you see Nikola Jokic's top of the key fadeaway shot that was crucial to pretty much like dream to take everything out of the Lakers and just be like, ugh. And I remember he hit that shot. The ball was literally back behind his head like Larry Bird, but like fading away. that is one of those shots that you dream of as a kid. 1 second on the shot clock to go in. And what is your input on that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's certainly a moment that's going to stick out for the rest of Jokic's career. That's one of the more memorable playoff moments in recent history, I think. We're going to be hearing about that shot for a while.
For sure. So tonight is Game Five of the Celtics and Heat. Before we get on that, we'll talk about the predictions later in the show at the end. I want to talk about Game Four, Celtics Heat. Um, Celtics finally got one. They finally got one. So coming from our Celtics fan, what did you think they did good or better than what they did the first three games?
Well, they played defense for one thing. All series, it's been the Miami Heat getting wide open threes, kind of getting whatever they want on offense, and you didn't see that. You've seen a lot of blocked 3 pointers by the Celtics, a lot better discipline with the pick and roll, just so much better. We were shooting better. That's the Celtics that you needed to see in the first 3 games of the series. And I think it might be just a little bit too late, but I guess we'll have to see.
For sure. And so to touch on that, Al Horford finally had a good game shooting the ball. Defensively, he's been okay, not what he's been in the past, but he was able to knock down a lot of key shots because he's been open all series. They've been leaving him open. The Heat are basically saying, we're not getting beat by Brown, we're not getting beat by Tatum, we're going to let your role players beat us. And so far, Marcus Smart, he struggled in the first half, hit a couple huge threes in the second half. Al Horford did good all game. And then Grant Williams, what a huge performance by Grant Williams off the bench. I definitely see Game 5 tonight. He will get some more minutes tonight. I really do think that.
Well, it was kind of fascinating. You've seen in this playoffs, as much as he played in the regular season, he kind of fell out of the rotation. And I think he's definitely earned his minutes back with his play. He's one of the few guys that has really just showed fight every time he stepped into the game. I know it really hurt us in that one game where he got Jimmy fired up, and that kind of lost us the game. But I love to see that fighting spirit. He's been knocking down shots, playing defense. I want him on the floor more.
For sure. And so I got two more things to talk about for Game 4 and upcoming Game 5. So a source just came out and said Malcolm Brogdon's been playing with a torn something in his elbow. I don't know. I think that happened Game 2. Is that right? Game 2 that happened? But he's been playing with that for 3 games now, and he hasn't been playing that well. And Malcolm Brogdon was that guy off the bench. Obviously, he was sixth man of the year, but he's been that guy for the Celtics where he's like been consistent, Mr. Consistent, 10 to 15 points, 3 and D guy, guarding his guy, limiting him, plus minus machine. I mean, Malcolm Brogdon is a huge factor. And then another guy I was going to talk about is Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent is out Game 5. Saw that today on a source. Gabe Vincent's been balling too for the Heat. So I wonder how these injuries are going to affect their both teams' play tonight.
I think Brogdon's really been scaring me the past couple games. He's starting to become a liability for the Celtics, which is definitely not what you want from your sixth man of the year. We really need Brogdon, but I think his minutes are going to have to go down, and we're going to have to see a lot more Derek White, maybe even Peyton Pritchard, just to get some more guard play. And for Gabe Vincent, I think they will be fine. The Heat, just Kyle Lowry, he has killed the Celtics in the past, and I could certainly see him. He's been here before. He's had conference finals trips. He's been to the finals. Um, I think he's been to the finals at least.
Yeah.
But he's been there. He's killed the Celtics. I think he's going to step up. He'll probably have a big game. Certainly wouldn't surprise me.
So one last thing I want to touch on is so what does the Celtics need to do tonight? You believe to get the game like to get the win? What do they need to do to keep this series advancing?
I think the key for the Celtics, all playoffs, just their identity, is 15 threes. They have to be knocking down threes. I have written down, I don't know where I found this, but when the Celtics hit 15 or more threes, they're 7-1. And when they don't hit that 15-3 mark, they're 0-6. So, yeah, that's their magic number. And I'm not sure if they can do that. They did it last game. I'm not sure if they can do that 4 games in a row.
Gotcha. So what I believe the Celtics need to do to advance this series is obviously last game and the game before, which the game before they got killed, or no, it was the game before that. But I know last game they demolished the Heat on the rebounds. Rebounding, they rebounded the heck out of the ball. I believe it's going to come down to rebounding, defense, and turnovers. I think those are the three big things. You say shooting. I think if you can guard, defend, and guard, rebound, and turnovers, I believe that'll whoever has the most of those and least, I think that's who wins.
So that brings us to today's game. And today we are going to be playing Where Did That Player Go to College? We have 5 NFL players, we have 5 NBA players, and I'm going to be asking Carson where they went to college. Simple, you got it?
I think so. I think I got it. I think so.
You ready for the first one?
Let's go. NBA or NFL?
We're starting off with NFL players.
Okay. Okay.
And the first player for today is Tyler Lockett.
Tyler Lockett. Seattle Seahawks. I want to say it was I don't know, Pac-12. I want to say Washington.
Wrong.
Is Washington even in the Pac-12? Or are they Big 12?
They're Pac-12, I think.
Okay, at least I got that right. Is it South?
I don't know if I'd call this South, but it was Kansas State.
Kansas. Hey, it was purple. I was kind of right. I was kind of right.
Kind of had the colors right.
Okay.
The next one is Evan Ingram.
Evan Ingram. Tied in for the Giants. Well, no, not the Giants. Jags.
Jags.
Yes. He went to Ole Miss, I believe.
That is correct. He went to Ole Miss.
Sweet. 1 for 2.
Player number 3 is Brandon Ayuk.
Oh boy. San Francisco wide receiver.
Here's a first rounder.
Let's see here. Pure guess. Tulsa.
Arizona State.
Yeah, no idea.
We got some challenging ones today. They're not easy. Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard. I should know this. Tony Pollard. I know this. Memphis.
That is correct. He did go to Memphis.
Memphis. I knew that. 2 for 4.
And the last NFL player for today is Ryan Tannehill.
Gosh, I know this too. He played wide receiver in college, and that's all I can remember. Literally played wide receiver. I know this one too. As soon as you say I'm gonna know it, I'm gonna take a random guess. I'm gonna go back to Ole Miss.
You had the SEC right, but it was Texas A&M.
Dang. Texas A&M. Gotcha. So would I go 2 for 5 on NFL? Oof.
They were tough. I'm not sure how many of those I could have gotten right.
Oof. All right.
Now we're on to NBA players.
This is more me. Here we go. Hopefully.
The first NBA player is Pascal Siakam.
Pascal Siakam.
I'll say this is a smaller school in comparison to the next few.
Richmond Spiders. Pure guess.
New Mexico State.
Didn't know that.
The next player is Nikola Vucevic.
Nikola Vucevic. I feel like he was definitely somewhere down south. Was he University of Miami?
He went to USC.
Over two.
Next player is Desmond Bain.
Desmond Bain. No idea. This dude's good too. He turned out to be a really good player in the NBA. Let's go SMU.
TCU.
Kinda. Three letters. 0 for 3.
These are tough. Number 4, Chris Middleton.
Chris Middleton.
He's a second rounder.
I would say he's definitely seems like the type of guy. It's like a second round pick and small school. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say like. Let's go Oregon State.
Texas A&M.
Really? Didn't know he was in the SEC. Don't remember that.
And the next player,
0 for 4.
the last
Wow.
one, Spencer Dinwiddie.
I'm going 0 for 5. This is unbelievable. I'm gonna say. Let's go. University of Arizona. Arizona University. Whatever it is.
0 for 5. He went to Colorado.
Colorado. Man, that's tough. I definitely did. So I went 2 for 10. Somebody could have done that guessing probably.
Yeah, if you're seeing this on like TikTok or wherever you're watching, I want to know how you guys did in the comments.
Yeah, please let us know because we have not talked about very much is actually probably one of the probably my favorite sport to watch when it's in season, but the NFL. So what's the latest on the NFL, Jaden?
Well, yeah, we just had the NFL draft not too long ago. Most teams are starting to get their rosters put together. A lot of contracts have been signed. Um, I'm thinking Lamar Jackson recently got put to a big deal. Um, yeah.
Sounds good. So, I just saw recently where obviously, so I'm a Colts fan. You're a Cowboys fan. Jake's a Colts fan as well. I just saw recently Anthony Richardson has been. I've heard by NFL executives throughout the Colts building, he has been balling in the Colts minicamp OTAs. He has been balling. Like he. So there was a play last week where Anthony Richardson made a touch pass. They said that he literally looks like he is already ready to be an NFL quarterback. What do you think he is already ready to be an NFL quarterback at 20 years old?
Well, I certainly think he's a lot safer than people think, just because he kind of shown some flashes, but also a lot of inconsistency at Florida. But I think at Florida, he also didn't have the best talent around him, and he's shown a great ability of pocket awareness, I think. And with the way that the NFL works these days, a rushing quarterback like that with that much athleticism and size, you don't have to do anything crazy with him. You can play really safe, run the football a lot if you have to, throw short passes, screens. You don't have to throw him immediately into the fire for him to work and get experience, I think.
Yeah. So one thing or what I've been thinking as a Colts fan, it's like like what you said, you don't have to throw him in the fire when he says start. If you start him week one, because you can run the crap out of the ball. You have Jonathan Taylor, you have that Evan Noel we just drafted from Northwestern as well, and Zach Moss that we traded for. I mean, those are good running backs. A lot of talent there. So we could literally just run like the Ravens offense, run the crap out of the ball. Same thing. And then the offensive line, we drafted a couple guys in the draft. We drafted Blake Freeland from BYU, and then we also picked up also some undrafted free agents from. We picked up a guard from Alabama who was supposed to be drafted, but he had a little setback right before the combine. And we also got another lineman. I forget his name, but like we're trying to build our line back. We got a running quarterback, obviously Jonathan Taylor, top 5 running back in the NFL, and then we even touched on the wide receivers a little bit. So I'm curious to see. I know this team is very young, but like so is the rest of the division. I mean, the only team that's old is the Titans, and the Titans are still getting younger. So I mean, yes, right now it looks like a clear picture for the Jacksonville Jaguars after the season they came off of last year, facing the Chargers. But like, I feel like the Colts. I mean, they're not out of it. I mean, we can't just say no. Colts are done. I mean, we're on the next year. We can't just say that yet because who knows what Anthony Richards is like? Who knows what Shane Steichen's like? Who knows what this? Because the defense was top 5 last year. We had a top 5 defense last year in points per game given up, and so I mean, and that was also without our defensive player of the year candidate, Shaq Leonard. So who knows with this team? I personally do believe if we're healthy and we can get our offense brewing, who knows with this team? Could we be a wild card team?
Yeah, I really like what you said there about you. You guys are not out of anything with your division. You know, the Titans and the Texans are kind of in the same spot as you. They're not just going to absolutely crush you guys. They're developing teams too, with a lot of young guys, 2 young quarterbacks especially. And I think you guys have a real chance. I personally love the way you guys draft. Ballard has shown over and over again he likes to take shots on these big athletes. Anthony Richardson, obviously, we've already touched on him. 4'4" speed, 250 pounds with a rocket arm. You got the 6'3" corner, Julius Brents. Adibare, the defensive tackle, 4'4", 4'5" speed as a defensive tackle is insane. And you guys are depending on your coaching staff to develop that talent. But I'm always a fan of leaning on those athletic traits because if you can pan some of those guys out, your team has a ceiling that not many teams have.
For sure. Yeah, it's just it kind of reminds you of basketball. You know, like when you have a basketball player, like Larry Bird for say. Larry Bird was not athletic, but he had good footwork. So it's kind of like that in football too. Like you could be good in the NFL with footwork, but it helps to be athletic. And if you can tie athletic and like the fundamentals in it too, I mean, you could be a top caliber player. Like, look at Patrick Mahomes. He has both. He has that trait where he's athletic. He has the fundamentals down and throwing the ball, and his footwork in the pocket, pocket awareness. Like that's why he's the best quarterback, and he could be very easily the best quarterback of all time in throughout his career if we see his longevity of his career. But it's kind of like basketball. You know, if you have a guy Larry Bird, yeah, he could have probably been the greatest player of all time if he had LeBron's athleticism. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like going back to the Colts. I love how Chris Ballard drafted. You know, I'm a big fan of Chris Ballard. A lot of Colts fans do not like Chris Ballard. I've always liked Chris Ballard. He's done a heck of a job in the draft. He's always done, I think, everything you want as a Colts fan. He's done everything he possibly can to get that team to a Super Bowl. He's went out and got veteran quarterbacks that have been there. It's just that they were just too old. I believe with the Matt Ryan experience, when we first got Matt Ryan, I was pumped. Matt Ryan, I mean, he just had a heck of a year the year before that, and then also that was not a very good Atlanta Falcons team. So when we got Matt Ryan, we had a top 3 defense in the NFL. We had Jonathan Taylor coming off almost the best season of a Colts running back, and then when you have the only spot we had open was a quarterback position because we traded Carson Wentz. I thought last year was the year for the Colts, but it didn't work out. Chris Ballard puts his head down, goes to work in the draft, gets a guy that I believe is going to be a guy, and I think Colts fans need to be excited. And I think we need to start praising Chris Ballard more than hating.
A guy we didn't mention is Josh Downs. What do you think about him as well?
Josh Downs. I mean, this man. So I watched a little bit of the Colts pre-draft and post-draft interviews, and I listened to Reggie Wayne, the wide receiver coach for the Colts. They Reggie Wayne said before the combine or during the combine when he was when Josh Downs was working out, and you got to think Reggie Wayne was talking to every. I mean, because we had the fourth pick. Who knows what we could have like? We could have been talking to the top receiver in this draft, but he said Reggie Wayne said he interviewed all the wide receivers that were at the combine. He said Josh Downs was literally the he thinks personally the best receiver in this draft. He really does think that. The only thing Josh Downs, what I've heard, is lacked and what I've watched so far on tape and film, the only thing he lacks is height. That is pretty much the only thing because I know he's one of the best contested catchers in this draft.
He's number one, actually.
Is he number one? He's number one, and he's only 5'7", 5'8".
I think he's 5'8", 5'9". Yeah.
So, but he's number one in contested catches. So, does the height? Yes, the height still matters. But the thing is, though, if he's making contested catches, what's it matter what his height is? And I'm assuming we're going to use him a lot down the field and also a lot in the slot. So, I mean, he's going to be both getting the best of both worlds. And I believe Josh Downs is going to be a great player for the Colts. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely love Josh Downs. He was kind of a draft crush for me. I would have really loved the Cowboys to somehow get him, but obviously we didn't really need him. But I think he's a guy that very easily could have went first round. Is what I was thinking. And for you guys to get him at what 79?
Yeah,
I mean,
fourth
you
round.
just can't beat that. I mean, the guy, like you said, fantastic hands, comes down with contested catches, has great speed, and I think with you guys already having Pierce and Pittman on the
Six
outside,
three, yeah, six
big
four.
bodies, why can he not just destroy the slot?
I know he's going to kind of take that Paris Campbell role and hopefully turn out to be what we thought Paris Campbell was going to be. Obviously, Paris Campbell had a better year last year. I believe he went to the Giants. I believe he still could be a great player in the NFL. Injuries have kind of hurt him, but he actually had a full season last year, which he didn't do too bad. I mean, he had a good year, but he didn't live up to the expectations that Colts fans thought he would. But I do believe, like Downs is going to come in here and next to right now he's I think wide receiver 4 in the Colts room. But I wouldn't be surprised if you could see him at the end of the year sneak up to at least 2, maybe even 1. At this dude's a freak. I'm telling you. So after before or next, I want to talk about the NFL. So what did you think about your Cowboys draft?
It wasn't anything flashy. They didn't try to hit any home runs, I don't think, but they're trying to win now, and I think they filled some much needed spots. We really bulked up the defense. We got some guys that Dan Quinn's gonna have a lot of fun with. A guy that really sticks out to me is the Sweat Bandit from Texas. I think he's going to be a great off-ball linebacker for us. Allow Micah Parsons to rush the passer more, play a little bit less pass coverage, which is what I've been wishing for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I know you guys. So you guys got Dak. You got Pollard. Is what's the latest on Zeke? Have you heard anything on Zeke? Is Zeke gonna be back? Because I heard Zeke might. So they cut him. They released him. Next, then I heard rumor Bengals, Eagles, and then I think there's one more team. But then a report came out like a week later. Heck, he might go back to the Cowboys. So, as a Cowboys fan, would you want Zeke back?
I don't know. Um, Zeke, I think it's very apparent that he's definitely not what he used to be, and that's why he hasn't been signed yet. From what I've heard, teams think he's definitely lost a step, and he's not really worth the contract that he's wanting. So he honestly might have to settle for something close to minimum, veteran minimum money, or certainly just very cheap. I mean, the market for running backs, anyways, even if you're
Mm-hmm.
coming off a great season, you're still not getting paid that much.
Yeah.
Maybe Miles Sanders is like the only guy that David Montgomery too are the only guys that really got paid out of this
Mm-hmm.
year's free agency. So yeah, it's looking scary for
I would
Zeke.
say the NFL is kind of moving to that. There's so many great athletes at running back that that position's so easy to fill. I know, like speaking like from Jonathan Taylor. I mean, like I remember Jonathan Taylor got hurt last year, and Deion Jackson stepped right up. Deion Jackson had like 2 touchdowns, 80 rushing yards. I mean, NFL is if you have as long as your running back has a scheme down. I mean, yes, the traits help, but I don't think the way NFL GMs, owners, and NFL members they they just value running backs different. I know obviously running backs usually retire younger because of all the hits they take, but I think Zeke personally, like Zeke has a spot in the NFL though. I believe he could be a touch. He could be like a LeGarrette Blunt for backup for the Patriots and the Eagles, where he was getting 10, 12 touchdowns a game, kind of like what he did for the Cowboys last year. It's just that for the Cowboys, his contract was so big that it kind of made the Cowboys want to move on to get so they can pay Pollard, they can pay all these other guys, CD, um, instead of having that backup running back making so much money.
Yeah, I think he'll find a role somewhere, at the very least, as like a pass blocker or like you said, a goal line back, because those are things that with all these undersized running backs in the latest class and the young guys, they're not always good pass blockers or pass catchers, and I think that's at least the safety blanket that Zeke provides for your team.
Yeah. So one more thing I want to touch on in the draft. Who was the biggest winner or winners of the draft in your opinion, team wise?
I thought the Colts were right up there, but I know we've already talked about them kind of, so I want to go to a different team. I think you got to say the Philadelphia Eagles at this
That's who I
point.
was going with.
Um,
Philadelphia Eagles blew it out of the water too.
well, for one thing, the chemistry of just getting that Georgia Bulldogs defense. I mean, they've got like the whole Georgia Bulldogs championship roster.
It's not a bad team to draft.
Yeah, definitely not. That defense is really stacking up great with N'Kobe Dean, Jalen Carter. They got Kelly Ringo. I'm forgetting people I know.
Yeah,
Nolan Smith,
Nolan Smith. Yeah.
great pick at the end of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they crushed it again. I mean, we're seeing a team that just went to the Super Bowl. I know they lost some people in free agency, but I think they filled a lot of those gaps with some high caliber talent in the draft. I think
For
they crushed it.
for sure. So, and I was going to say the same thing about the Eagles. I mean, they literally love the Georgia Bulldogs. I mean, Kirby Smart's basically part of that Philadelphia Eagles staff. Um, But I mean, can you blame Howie Roseman? Can you blame Nick Sirianni? Can you blame them at all? I mean that. I mean that's a great organization. Georgia football. You can easily say this now. Georgia football is the new Alabama football. It is what it is. Nick Saban might not like it, but Kirby Smart has turned Georgia into college football. I really do believe that. I mean, the dude is going out. He had Stetson Bennett for what, 10 years on the roster? Is that what he had? Stetson
Still
Bennett.
didn't graduate, but he was there.
Yeah, he was there for 10 years. He got a DUI. It's all right though. But Stetson Bennett, he's on the Rams. But it was just funny because he had Stetson Bennett. I mean, he's an okay quarterback. He ain't gonna blow you out of the park. He ain't gonna do nothing crazy. But he gets the job done. He's smart. But what Kirby Smart does is he gets those athletes that have amazing traits, and then builds this NFL defense compared to college football offense and defenses. It's it's just mind blowing to me what Kirby Smart does, and I think I don't blame the Eagles for doing what they do in the draft. And I'm hoping, and what he kind of did is by drafting all those athletic guys, bring that to the Colts is Shane Steichen. I hope he brings that with from the Eagles.
Any other teams?
So I thought there was some. Obviously, you can't hate on the Texans what they did. Obviously, I want to hate on the Texans being a Colts fan, but I mean, you can't really hate on going out and getting Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud. Are you kidding me? That's a franchise changing two picks right there. I mean, that right there in the next couple of years, we could see that being like all pro, both sides of the ball, and that's huge for the Houston Texans considering they haven't found a quarterback since Deshaun Watson, and also haven't had a defensive player since, like a great defensive player since J.J. Watt, and Will Anderson probably can be that guy too.
I really like the Cardinals as well, another team at the top of the draft. I thought for a team that's going to have a really tough year this year, trading back and still getting the best offensive lineman in Paris Johnson to protect Kyler Murray in the future is great. And also, they got some more draft pick value for the future. I mean, right now they're projected to get the number one and number two pick for next year's draft with Caleb Williams, and Marvin Harrison. I think they're in a great spot right now. Definitely.
And then one thing that runs through my mind since you touched on the Cardinals is, I mean, if you're the Cardinals, Do you trade Kyler Murray for 3 first-round picks? Draft Caleb Williams? Get Marvin Harrison? I mean, do you? I mean, because obviously, a team would want Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's a good quarterback. I mean, he is a good quarterback. The thing he lacks is leadership. I mean, he's not
And size.
and size. Yes, he does lack size, but he has shown on the field where he can play with his size. But I think the biggest thing he lacks is leadership. I know in this contract last year when they were trying to renew his contract, they had that thing where he had to watch film a certain amount of time a week, and you shouldn't need that in an NFL quarterback for Pete's sake. I mean, come on now. As a Cardinals fan, I wouldn't like that as a Cardinals fan. If my quarterback wasn't watching film, he's too busy playing Call of Duty. Are you kidding me? I mean, but I really do think Kyler Murray, that has to run through the Cardinals' mind. That Kyler Murray might be gone next year. I mean, Caleb Williams is good. He's probably he's probably the favorite for a Heisman winner next year, I would assume. I mean, he won it this year.
He's got to be.
Yeah, he won it this year. So I believe I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals make another move at the end of next season.
Yeah, I could be jumping the gun here, but if it's me, if I'm on the clock, if I'm the Cardinals, I have a really bad season, and you have a chance to go grab Caleb Williams, I don't care who your quarterback is. I think he can come right into the league and be a top 5 quarterback immediately.
Wow.
He's a special, special talent.
Wow. So you're already saying Caleb Williams is better than Drake May?
I think they're very close. I think Drake May, he's getting a lot of Herbert comparisons. He could end up passing Caleb Williams and becoming the number 1 pick, but I think right now Caleb Williams is easily the number 1 guy.
Well, Caleb Williams is more athletic, right?
They're both great athletes. I think they're comparable.
Comparable. Gotcha.
With some predictions, like always. Carson, I'd like to know what you think about the Celtics Heat Game 5 tonight.
So yeah, I'm not going to waste no time. I personally believe that the Celtics will get it done at the Garden tonight. I think Brown has a really good bounce back game. He hasn't had a really good game in this series yet. I think Brown is the leading scorer tonight's game. But I do say I'm going to give a little early prediction for Game 6. Miami Heat take Game 6 at Miami. What about you?
I'm not as clear cut as you. I think it's not going to be that easy. I saw Jimmy Butler smiling on the bench when they were losing, and that certainly scares me. I don't know if they're going to have 2 bad games in a row as well as they've played this playoffs. I think the Celtics could lose this one, definitely. I think they've shown over and over again that they can't win at home for whatever reason. I think they do take this game, but I'm not too confident in it.
Gotcha.